Hello subscribers or non-subscribers, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. I actually haven't posted anything in about a month and a half, but I'm going to try to get back to it now. Yeah, so I have decided to start a little aspect of my channel called You Are Not Alone, and it is basically things that I've been through as a teenager that others might have gone through, things that are just struggles or maybe a little atypical, but that people still go through. Just because I know for me personally, it helps to know that I'm not alone in certain situations, and so hopefully I can give that to other people, or just I can educate people on certain things, such as what I'm going to be talking about today, which is my struggle throughout my life with having learning disabilities. So the first thing that I'm going to say is I often worry that when someone hears the word learning disability, they think that it means there's something wrong with that person, or they're just not going to act like a normal teenager. And it's hard because when I confide in people about it, I don't want them to think of me differently. I don't want them to think of me like that. I like to call it learning differences, as many people in my life or people who have learning differences call it, because we are not disabled. We are capable of succeeding in school. We just learn differently. We have to be in certain learning environments that work for us, and often typical learning environments do not. So I'm just going to share my story. And yeah, so around second grade was when my symptoms first started to show up, because in first grade we'd learned easy stuff such as 3 plus 2. I pretty much did fine with that. There were times when I had troubles with certain math, but we also learned to read, and English has always been my strength, so nothing particularly different there. But in second grade we started to learn harder stuff, such as how to borrow when multiplying, and the teacher would lecture in front of the class and I would be unable to keep my mind from wandering, and even when I did pay attention, I didn't understand a word that she was saying. And about a year later I started to get pulled out of class to go to one-on-one tutoring with the math teacher. And my struggles in school weren't only academic. We learned to play the recorder in 4th grade, and I would just randomly move my fingers up and down the instrument, praying the teacher didn't notice, and I dreaded school assemblies where we had to play in front of everyone. By 5th grade, this struggle for me to learn in class had simply become a way of life. It wasn't just math anymore, it was everything except for English, and it frustrated me how I never understood a word of what the teacher was saying, while all of my uber smart classmates and friends picked up on everything immediately. But I never wondered why I was different. I never wondered what was wrong. It was just how things always had been in my life, and I was used to it. I got a math tutor outside of school, and it helped me because I had no problem learning one-on-one. In 6th grade we started having our first real tests, and I still remember my very first one. It was on geology, because we were in a geology unit. And the night before, my mom and I had thought I was ready for it because we'd studied together, and I just thought that skimming through my textbook was enough. I got an F, and that was the year when things really became a struggle, middle school. I had friends that would complain about getting 99% on tests because they weren't 100%. Well, I sat there with my D+. And I would have breakdowns crying at night because I had no idea how to do my homework, but I didn't want to get in trouble for not completing it. And one night after a particularly bad breakdown, my mom called my teacher without telling me. So the next morning when I got to school, my teacher said that she wanted to speak to me alone, and I knew it was coming. And she said, "Your mom called me last night." And I was like, oh no, I was so embarrassed. I was always embarrassed academically at school, but that never made it any better. And so she said, "No, I'm glad she told me." So we started discussing ways that she hopes to help me, but it felt like I couldn't be helped for the most part. So I did learn to practice hard for tests with the help of my parents, and I would often actually get 76%, which was an achievement for me at the time. I never got higher than that. Whenever the teacher lectured in front of the classroom, I tried to force myself to pay attention. On multiple days, I would be like, "This is the day I'm going to pay attention, class, and I will take in everything I'm learning." But I literally physically couldn't. It wasn't that I was just slacking off. I couldn't help it. And I was afraid to ask questions if I didn't understand something, because I was worried that my teachers would get mad and say, "Oh, you're not paying attention." And 7th grade, that was the year when my parents and I found an answer. It got recommended that they take me to get an evaluation done. I got to miss school, which was nice, and my mom took me to an office where a very nice old lady had me take a bunch of tests, and they seemed really easy, they were designed for 7-year-olds or something, but that was a huge relief after everything I had to endure these days in school. So I came to this office to take tests multiple times, And one day when I was there, I saw this award on the wall that the testing woman had received, and it mentioned that she tested students with learning disabilities. And I suddenly felt really freaked out. I was like, wait, I'm not disabled. I don't have a disability. I'm totally normal. Like, right? Like, I was this 12-year-old girl basically thinking I was being told I had a disability when my whole life I thought I was normal. And so eventually the test results came in, and that was a big deal. I had a meeting with the testing woman, and she told me that my results were outstanding. She was like, "You're really, really crazy smart." And I was so confused. It didn't make sense. I was like, wait, I thought I was like dumb. I didn't know anything I ever learned in school, and I had to struggle my brains out my entire life. She then went on to explain that I had a learning difference, which is a word that I like to use to replace learning disabilities, because we are not disabled, we just learn differently. Only certain environments we are really better able to learn in. And so she said that I had a hard time processing dense information and that things go right through me, and that I needed to be in a learning environment different from the one where teachers simply lecture and assume students immediately get it, like the traditional learning environment. So basically I have like executive functioning disorder, some auditorial disorder, some math disability. I don't have like ADHD or dyslexia or something well known like that. That was also the year I first started looking at high schools, and I visited and applied to a handful. One of them was for students with learning differences, but I wanted to feel normal and go to a normal high school. I was like, I don't want to be like seen as different. Even though I was planning on going somewhere new for high school, I stayed at my old school through 8th grade. And even though I had an answer, things were still really frustrating. I still got humiliated whenever I did terribly on homework and tests, and my teachers just didn't seem to understand. Like, I had like one or two who did, but most of them just didn't get it and didn't know how to address my problems. I resented my classmates for being so darn good at everything we learned, while I might as well have had a big question mark symbol over my head every day at school. My 8th grade graduation was an emotional day because I desperately didn't want to leave my friends, but I was ecstatic to be done with the torture and go somewhere that I thought I could learn well at. Thought, that's the key word there. So I thought that my new school, like, because it taught hands-on instead of lecture, it'd be right for me, but it wasn't. My freshman year of high school was miserable. The things we learned were extremely challenging and dense, and it felt like I was being taught stuff for like college students, and yet again I was faced in a situation where we were taught something and it was just assumed that we'd learned it. And while that was true for most of my classmates, yet again it just plain wasn't for me. In January of that year, my parents and I decided to reconsider if I would return to my current school or not the next year. And in the end, I made the choice to go to the school for students with learning differences instead. That was the best choice I possibly could have made, and it changed my life. So, flashback to now, I guess 3 years later. As I write this, I'm a senior in high school, and I get straight A's. I'm in National Honor Society, which is mind-blowing to me regarding my past. I'm understanding what I'm learning, and I'm surrounded by people just like me and with paths just like mine. And yes, I'm a little scared for college next year, but since I am legally diagnosed with learning disabilities, I can get accommodations. I've learned so many new skills at my current school for how to advocate for myself and succeed, so I think it'll be okay. I just want you guys to know that even if you're struggling in school, you're not dumb, okay? Please know that you are not dumb. It is such an old-fashioned, just old school, outdated thought that because you don't do well in school or on tests that you are not smart, but that's not true, and it's been proven. And I just want you guys to know that if you're in the position I'm in, you are amazing, you're intelligent, and you do have the ability to succeed. Thank you so much for watching, especially all the way to the end. You are totally patient, and I really appreciate you. So yeah, since I have just started my channel kind of recently and I'm still a new YouTuber, and it would be so helpful if you could like give it a thumbs up, subscribe definitely, and even comment. So yeah.